What is up, guys? It is Joe. We're back and we're talking ball about the Cats. In today's video, we're talking about the transfer portal, as I'm sure you've seen some of the reports about Jayce Brown. I'm going to give you my thoughts there, but before I do, let me remind you this. First of all, I really hope you take the time to consider subscribing to this YouTube channel. It's a quick way to help me out as we continue to grow this channel each and every day. And I appreciate those of you that do show up and engage with the content. It's always a blessing to see you guys. I also hope you had a wonderful holiday season with Thanksgiving back behind us. Now we're approaching Christmas, and it's going to be a great month. Hopefully you get some snow wherever you're at. But as the month continues to roll on, Kansas State fans were greeted with a tough change of pace for the holiday news for, post-Thanksgiving. The best way to say this, Jayce Brown enters the transfer portal. Now, the portal's not officially open, so none of this is like official, but the point is, there was a tweet that dropped, and I'll show some stuff on the screen here and show you the pictures, but there was a tweet that dropped basically saying, hey, according to sources, Kansas State wideout Jayce Brown is entering the transfer portal ahead of the final game of the season against Iowa State. Now, understandably, this generated a lot of buzz on social media with a bunch of people I respect and care about chiming in on the situation, myself included. I put out a tweet kind of reacting to it. And in my case specifically, and maybe this is a shock to you guys, but it didn't really feel like much of a shock in all honesty. I feel like his path to the transfer portal reminded me a lot of how Cam Carter's did down the stretch for basketball, where you could kind of tell something was off. And it wasn't just like, oh, he's missing a couple shots here, he's missing the rock here. He's not getting targeted as much, he's not getting open as much. That stuff all at some point traces back to effort. And at some point along the way, you stop going all out for a team because you know, hey, I'm not going to be here. This isn't, the championship window's gone. In theory, it's not, just to say that now, but you see some of that stuff here and there with guys that are just kind of not showing up and giving their effort. The report was big enough for me to alter the timeline of when I drop these videos. This one's kind of an emergency episode, and then I'll have another video for you tomorrow morning ahead of K-State's game against Iowa State. But there was a lot of people that chimed in with different theories and different things occurring, and one that I wanted to mention was kind of the general consensus from what I've understood, and I want to preface this by saying I am not an insider. I have no idea what goes on in the locker room. I know very, very few things about the sport that I watch beyond sitting on the couch and watching. I love Kansas State. I report what I see. I don't necessarily speculate that much. But in this case, Tim Fitzgerald from Go Power Cat, a dude I respect and love, huge inspiration to me for just starting the channel and doing his own way. So Tim Fitz puts out a tweet basically saying, hey, good luck, Jayce, figure it out. And in the comments, someone responded asking some questions, and he basically said, he's also been a locker room issue all season long. And to tell you the truth, I see that. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I've seen examples or I've seen this or that. You just understand that, like, dude's in his position. When you're a massive chip on the shoulder guy, under-recruited, underappreciated, under anything, there's so much disrespect already thrown at you. And I almost feel like Jayce Brown got a point where he stopped getting the football or he stopped getting targets. And I mean, Florida receivers are always like ball dominant. I need the football, otherwise something's going wrong. At some point, dude, stop pointing thumbs and start pointing fingers. I feel like there's a reason you don't hear from Jayce after any of these games. You don't see him in the player breakout interviews. You don't see him, realistically interacting with anybody. The last time we saw or heard from Jayce Brown was after that Colorado game and a massive play he made. But to take it one step further, and I want to say this, I don't mean disrespect to Jayce Brown. I'm just kind of at a spot where I'm like, if you don't want to be here, don't be here. That's kind of where I'm at. And I'll continue that theory as we continue going through this. But basically, everybody and their brother responded to the tweet, including, irony here, Will Lee, formerly Kansas State defensive back now at Texas A&M, notable for playing in that final game after definitely knowing he's entering the transfer portal and pushing Abu Sama, giving him the Mario Kart speed boost towards the end zone. Surprise, surprise, Willie quote tweets it and says, Jayce with like 3 eye emojis trying to get him to come to Texas A&M. The irony speaks, and it doesn't surprise me one bit. That being said, Jayce Brown also chimed in on the situation. A little bit after this stuff happened, he put out a tweet saying, I'm 100% focused on Iowa State and finishing the season off strong with my brothers. Go Cats. Now, I get the idea, and Jayce, this isn't meant to sound, like I'm not trying to throw shots at you, but when you say stuff like that on one social media platform and then on the others, you change your bio from route runner at Kansas State to route runner and then say, I'm free, you're probably not meaning what you're saying. I'm going to tell you right now, you can't have two conflicting reports and expect us just to blindly follow one or the other. You have to take it all in. So Jayce Brown, I get the notion, hey, I'm committed. It'll be great. Sorry about the report, guys. You can't do this type of stuff and say, I'm free, finally at last. That's not the stuff that you're going to get. You're not going to get sympathy out of the fan base that way. That being said, I'm not going to sit here and try to sell you on why we're screwed because Jayce Brown isn't going to be here next year. I'm going to look at it as a realist the same way you would, I would hope. I get that, Jayce Brown's had some awesome moments. He's worked his tail off to be in this position. He's developed into a true star in college football, though there is a point where he stopped delivering on expectation, where the game passed him by a little bit, and guys like Trey Spivey stepped up. Guys like Dante Cephas stepped up. And instead of Jayce Brown stepping up and doing that next step of, hey, what do I need to do to continue my path forward, he kind of just fell back. And, whatever. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But, you saw him just visibly off. The connection with Avery wasn't there down the stretch. And I'd be lying if I said this is going to be the only polarizing dude that hits the portal. I'm sure that there's going to be some people on the team that's like, dang, I really liked him. I wish he would have stuck around. Because the way that college sports goes now, NIL is unregulated. There's nothing to say what you can and can't do. In addition, there's also 24 roster spots being cut down this season from last year to now for every team in America. So you're going to see some massively high-profile guys at the portal on that Jayce level. The point of what I'm saying, though, Jayce is a good receiver, but he's not irreplaceable. Malik Knowles was a good receiver, but he's not irreplaceable. Byron Pringle, etc. You can think about all these guys. And obviously Malik and Byron stayed with Kansas State. I don't want to make it sound like that. But the point of what I'm saying, Kansas State's wideout room has not been good enough for it to say this is truly an irreplaceable dude. We cannot win football games without this dude on the field. It's been kind of a revolving door at receiver the last couple of years. You've had guys that have been, just universally loved. You've had the Cade Warners stop by Kansas State, stay there for a couple of years, work their tails off. Malik Knowles grows and develops with the program, NFL future. But then you get guys that transfer in for a year, help immediate, and then they're gone because they don't have eligibility or because something doesn't go right. The thing that you see with the wide receiver spot, at the end of the day, guys aren't producing enough for me to be heartbroken about this loss. I mean, think about that. If you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. No one's holding your hand saying, you have to be here, Jayce Brown, you have to be here. No one's doing that. I get that you have obligations, I get that you have a passion, I get that you have whatever, but I'm sure he wants to get back closer to home. I'm sure he wants the next step in his career, but if he doesn't see that at Kansas State, you're welcome to pursue other options. That's the way you got to be with the transfer portal, because you can't sit here and beg dudes to come back when there's so many thousands and thousands and thousands, this year more than there will be, of dudes hitting the portal every single day. If you want to be here, you want to be here. If you don't, you don't. There's guys like Trey Spivey that have worked their tail off all season, in my opinion, needed to be playing the entire season, get adjusted on the field, that deserve this opportunity. I expect Trey Spivey to have a monster night against Iowa State, or at least be the main guy on the depth chart to say, hey, this dude's going to get looks. When you have dudes like that are culture guys that are working their tails off, you understand that people come and go. You can't keep everybody under the same wraps. Everybody can't be a one-track situation of, because this guy likes Kansas State, this guy likes Kansas State. Because this guy loves Coach Kleiman, this guy loves Coach Kleiman. It's such a thing where it's player by player, and sometimes it just doesn't work. So this video isn't meant for me to trash Jayce Brown saying he's making a bad decision or whatever. I'm honestly grateful to Jayce Brown. I mean, he didn't announce it himself. This is a report, and I'm sure it's probably connected to Jayce Brown in some sense. You did change your bio to say I'm free, so I get the idea. It's basically you saying it, but I'm grateful that he announced or pseudo-announced beforehand so that you don't have to expect anything out of him for this final game. Because you think about it, Will Lee, I expected to be our dominant number one corner. Even though he'd struggled, be consistent, show up on effort. He didn't do that in the final game of the season. And he sure as heck wasn't going to stick around. You saw that the night after the game, or the day, hours after the game. With Jayce Brown, I don't want to see a 50-50 ball thrown up and then him not go up for it, throw a pick, and lose the game to Iowa State because you're not giving effort. I don't want to see these things. The dudes that want to be here to work, those are the dudes that deserve to be on the field. And I'm sure Jayce Brown will have a great career at Florida State here in a couple of years, or Florida in a couple of years. My pick is Florida State. Sister played sports there, so I expect that family ties to come back in action. I'm sure he's got a good career ahead of him. It's just one that if you're ready to move on, move on. No one's going to sit here and cry and freak out that you're leaving. Everybody in that room is replaceable. As much as it hurts for some guys, you have to move on and keep the pieces together. Because there's guys in the portal that are going to be interested in Kansas State, that are going to be interested in Avery Johnson, this team. It's exciting future, and you have to prioritize that. There's some names being floated around. I don't want to speak on it yet because the portal's not officially open, so you don't want to just toss names out there as far as guys that are going to potentially enter the portal. But I'm excited to see, after last season, the dudes we were talking to, I'm excited to see what this year looks like once people have seen Avery Johnson and seen this offense go. Other than that, folks, I'm not too bent out of shape on this one. I know it sucks to lose 600 yards of production, but you understand somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to carry the logs. If it's Jayce Brown, great. If it's not Jayce Brown, who's up next? That's the question I'm sticking with, and that's pretty much going to be my thoughts on the situation. Jayce Brown, I do wish you luck and hope you find success in the future. Sucks it didn't happen at K-State, but I'm hoping for you. Other than that, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. I appreciate all the support on the channel. I will see you tomorrow morning with a video. I know this is kind of a tight deadline, but I wanted to talk about the Jayce thing because it's the first big player to hit the portal. There'll be more to follow eventually, but I'm not going to worry about that until dudes start hitting the portal. So regardless, go Cats, a massive game in the season finale. I will talk to you guys soon. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Go Cats.